Hey everyone, my name is Janelle Summers and this is the Team Hardcore Training Call, and today is February 23rd, so we're towards the end of the month. And I don't know about you, but I haven't had like a stellar amazing month yet, but we have plenty of time to make it that. You just have to kind of go that extra mile. So this is the time to really be doing all your follow-ups and making sure that you're inviting to your challenge groups and your sneak peeks or your backstage passes, or just inviting people to learn more about the business opportunity. Now's the time to be inviting and to be doing all those follow-ups and really being genuine and listening to their needs first and foremost. It's not about signing them up or getting them to buy. It's about listening to what they have to say, listening to their needs, and then going, okay, based on what you're saying, here's what I'm thinking. Have you ever considered this? It really becomes that simple. It's all about how you make them feel, and it has to be that you really care about their success. So even if that means you actually are like, you know what, I think it'd be best if you just start walking again, then say that. It really comes down to how you make people feel, and that has to come from a place that is genuine. So we have a very exciting call today. A speaker that she did a training in the Leadership Level Up group that I co-hosted with her and a bunch of other superstar diamonds. And when she did that training, I was like, dang, why have I not had her on one of my team calls yet? And I know some of you qualified for that Leadership Level Up group, but a whole bunch didn't, or hadn't joined at that time, or did qualify for the group but didn't hear the training yet. And so I was like, oh my gosh, Jen, would you please do a similar training for our team? You are the bomb.com. So I just really, really look up to her, and I just think she is so sweet and so smart, and just really breaks it down and really shares exactly what she feels works and what she's doing. So that's just gold to us, right? So I want to introduce you to her. Her name, of course, is Jen Richardson. She's a mom and wife. She's a superstar diamond, so of course a 15-star diamond in her first business center. In her second business center, she's a 2-star diamond. In her third business center, she's a 1-star diamond. She's also a 3-time elite coach. She's also a part of the Million Club. And get this, you guys, she's like one of my coaches. And she's in the Million Club, and she's been there. Awesome. She's also a Success Club 10 All-Star legend. So with that, are you there, Jen?
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I'm so excited to be talking to you guys today. I feel truly honored that Janelle asked me to speak to you guys about Instagram. And here's why. I feel like when I came into the business, a lot of focus was on Facebook, which was great. And a lot of our training was based around Facebook. And I was one of those people that when I came in, my warm market was not super, they just weren't interested, I guess is the nice way of saying it. They weren't interested. And they were kind of like, that's cool, you do that thing, I really want no part of it. I don't really want to see you posting about it. And I think as a new coach, a lot of times we come in and we don't have a ton of confidence in sharing a very vulnerable part of our journey. And for fitness, health and fitness, losing weight, whatever it is your journey is about, when we come into this, we're usually kind of a little uneasy to share that with people. And for me, I was 50 pounds heavier at that time. I had a lot of weight that I felt like I needed to lose. So coupling between the not very warm reception I had with my warm market, friends, family, people from college, whomever that was on my Facebook, I was like, I want to make this work. How am I going to do it? Because I'm not just going to give up because my warm market is not interested. And that's kind of where I started dabbling within Instagram. And I started in 2013. I actively started coaching in 2014. And I was like, you know what? Instagram is kind of this place where I feel like I can friend request, follow someone I don't know, and they're not going to be like, who are you and why are you friending me? Which is kind of that vibe on Facebook where they're like, why do I know you? And you're like, no, but I want to get to know you. And people are just, on Instagram, they're not like that. They totally expect, to have someone that they don't know follow them and, want to have a relationship. So I decided I'm going to build here. I'm going to build on Instagram. And then when I've built this relationship with a cold market person, I'm going to bring them over to Facebook. And then they can get to know me a little bit better. So that is how I started my business. And I'm going to kind of break down what I do now after trial and error over the years and what has worked best for me in kind of this recruiting process on Instagram, and then how I bring it over to Facebook and I really cultivate that relationship. So some of this might be like a repeat for some of you guys. Maybe you've already doing this. Maybe you've already heard kind of this system, but I'm just going to share it with you and hopefully you'll learn something. So what I do with all my brand new coaches, and I revamp this every 3 months, is an interest list. It's 10 things about me that have nothing to do with fitness, nothing to do with Beachbody at all. Because what I've learned about my business personally are the people that I'm connecting with has nothing to do with fitness. They're connecting with me because I live in Florida and I'm outdoorsy. I enjoy the beach. I go kayaking. I'm a mom. So I post a lot about my kids, and I bring, I build these relationships based on motherhood ties. Both my kids are, one's in preschool and one's in kindergarten. So I work kind of like with that group of moms. But anyway, this interest list is all of the things about you that don't have anything to do with fitness. The first thing I hear from my new coaches is I'm not really interesting. Like, I'm boring. I don't really have anything going on. It's so untrue. Okay. Once you start writing down this list of things you're interested in, you'll see how quickly this list forms. These things don't have to be activities that you're already doing currently. On my interest list, it's surfing. I can't surf to save my life, guys, but I enjoy watching it. I think it's interesting, so it's an interest. So these things are basically things that you enjoy, you would like to see people posting about, and likewise, you're going to be attracting those people to you that enjoy similar things. Okay, so 10 things. That's the first step. Then what I do is I take that interest list, take those topics, and I plug it into Google in a Google search where I say popular hashtags for surfing. And what pops up in Google is a whole bunch of hashtags that pertain to that interest. Now, I will tell you, this process is a little tedious. It takes a little bit of time, but you can block off time in your power hour to get this done a little bit every day. And within a week, really, guys, you should have this done. Okay, so I go through this hashtag list of hashtags that pertain to that interest, surfing, we'll just use that one, and I plug them into Instagram. And I look through all of the profiles of the people using that hashtag. If I'm starting to get a general sense of the people using this hashtag are people that I would follow, that I would be interested in following, that I would connect with, I will go ahead and I will save that hashtag onto my hashtag list. The goal is to create 25 hashtags based off your interest list. So every single time you guys are posting something on Instagram, you are gonna put that hashtag list into the comments of the post. And now, another common question I get from people when I say this is, well, what if my picture has nothing to do with the hashtags? And here's the thing, your Instagram is built up of you. So all of the things you're interested in, you're gonna be sharing about daily. So it's very likely, and it's proven to be true, I've been doing this system for a couple years now, it's proven to be true, the people you're attracted to and the interests that you have, you are recruiting essentially like-minded people. They're also going to be interested in the things you're interested in that you're posting about, even if it didn't pertain to that exact picture you posted. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So, being a mom, DIY projects, going kayaking, going camping, going to the beach, those are all things that I have hashtags for in my interest list. So I'm attracting a lot of those kinds of people to my page by using those hashtags. If you're feeling adventurous, you can go a step further than that. I actually have 2 sets of 25. So I basically go through this interest list of mine and I pick 25 of the best hashtags where I've really related to those people using the hashtags, just a general scrolling of the hashtag. Some of you'll go into and you'll be like, there's not really people using this hashtag that I feel like fits my my vibe or my, I call it my avatar, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And I'm like, that one's not for me. But the ones that are, you write them down. Maybe you get a list of 50 that you've picked out from your interest list, break them up in 2 categories of 25, and interchangeably switch them out as you do your posts. And that's what I do. And so now you have this list, right, that you are using on every post. You've got the groundwork of creating the interest list. You have sought out those hashtags, searched them out. Now you're using them. You need to take a step further, and you need to go through that hashtag list every single day to follow new people that use those hashtags. And this is where it's completely up to you and your stage of your business and how much time you have in a day, how much time you want to dedicate to this. So when I was in build mode in 2014, I was trying to follow anywhere between 20 and 50 new people a day. That's aggressive. 50 people a day is aggressive. I was probably spending, I want to say like 3 hours a day, not consecutively, but 3 hours a day doing this. When I started, I had 500 followers. It's now 2017, and I have over 20,000. And it takes time. There are people that have grown their Instagrams much more rapidly than I have. There are people that have grown their Instagrams much slower than I have. But this system, I am getting what I feel is a group of followers, a group of people following me that are very like-minded to my interests. So we have a lot of engagement, and I think that's the important thing. It's not just having a lot of followers. It needs to be people that are interested in what you're doing, so that when you do post a call to action, which I'll get into in a minute, those people are much more likely to respond to it than someone that you just bulk added to your page and you're hoping maybe, they become interested in what you're doing. So like I was saying, 20 to 50 people a day. It was about 2 or 3 hours. Right now, at this stage of my business, I'm probably spending about an hour a day doing this, and maybe 10 a day. And so again, it really just depends on how much time you want to dedicate to this and how important it is to you that you grow your cold market. So you guys will all be on different levels of how important that is. So what I do as far as tracking, when I started, I was using Google Sheets. And I like Google Sheets. I use all Google platforms. You guys might use different things. You really could track anywhere. This is just what worked for me. Because I use my phone like 90% of the time when I'm working. I'm only on my computer for a few hours a day, and the rest is on my phone. So I needed a system that when I log into my computer, it's there. When I log into my phone, it's there. And for me, Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Forms, they're just really simplistic and they're really easy to use. So this form I use, basic, name of the person I followed. Instagram they don't always put their names. The next tab is Instagram name. So I write that down. And then the date I followed them, which is really important. And I'll tell you why in a second. And then a notes column. And the notes column needs to be somewhat specific to why you decided to follow this person. And I would put things like mom of triplets lives in Miami, because those are two things, like mom, niche market, Florida, niche market. And so you want to remember kind of why you chose to follow them. There's going to be people that you follow if you're doing, let's say you're being aggressive and you're following 30 people a day. You might not need to fill out that note section for every single person. You may just be following them because you're like, yeah, I think she's cool. I want to follow her. But you know how some people stand out to you and you're like, yes, dream team list. I really hope she coaches with me one day. That's the kind of person you would fill out that note section for, because it's kind of like you're reminding yourself, I need to follow back up with this one. I want to check back in with her. So that's my tracking system for following people. And then, like I was mentioning just before, going back and commenting on these people's pictures. Again, it's a little tedious when you have this list of people and you're trying to follow back and forth every day. Don't stress yourself out that you need to follow up daily with every single person you write down. If I was following 50 people a day, there's no way I could follow hundreds and go to every person every day. What you want to do is you want to use that list as kind of something you do during your power hour. If you made it a goal for your power hour to do follow-ups for 25 people, use that list as a reference point of who you're going to follow up with. Because to me, follow-ups are not just those people that were interested in a challenge pack or those people that were interested in coaching. Follow-ups are also those people I want to connect with deeper and I want to build a relationship with. So that follow-up with those people on that potentials list, which is what I call it, is part of my power hour. So, and it's really basic, guys. Like I just go in and comment on their picture, you know, cute dog, your son's adorable, brief, quick, takes 5 seconds, done, move on to the next one. Another thing I started using, which Instagram rolled out, I want to say like 6 months ago, is Instagram stories. If you guys don't use them, you should. If you don't follow people and watch their stories and respond back to them, you should. It has been one of the best blessings Instagram has given me, is creating those stories, not necessarily just for me sharing my feed, but for basically giving me an invitation to reach out to these people directly without being creepy. Because years ago, I was a hey girl kind of message person. I would send cold messages on Instagram. I don't do them anymore. I feel like there's a lot of MLMs now. I do not feel for 1 second Beachbody is oversaturated with coaches. I really think a 400,000 coach network is pretty small in the scheme of how large our you know, America and then Canada is. But there are a lot more MLMs. And so while we teach our coaches and while we have this great upline training of not being salesy and not being pushy, other MLMs don't necessarily have that kind of training, and they might be very aggressive to people that they're trying to market to. So we want to stand out outside of that, and we want to connect with these people in a different way. If you do hey girl messages, nothing against them. It's just not my style anymore. It's not what I like to do. But I'll share with you what I do. So on Instagram stories, I try to go in daily and click on my followers' Instagram stories and reply to at least one part of their story for that day. What I'm doing here is my face is going into their face, but sweetly and very like, you know, discreetly, because I'm messaging them about something they posted about, not at all mentioning anything Beachbody related, but they're going to start to remember my Instagram name the more I respond to their stories, right? So we're bridging that connection. And with these relationships, it doesn't happen in one day. It might not happen in 2 days. I usually give it a 2 to 3 week span of time with each group of my, like my follow-up sheet, as in tracking. And that's why I mentioned making sure you have the date follow tab, because after 3 weeks, I go into my app that I have. It's called Followers. I have an iPhone. I'm sure there's something similar with Android. And I will unfollow all of the people not following me within that span of time. And I just move on. You want to give it a couple weeks for them to see your post, get a feel for you. But then if you're not clicking, you're not clicking. Just unfollow, take them off your list. Instead of taking them off my list, what I do is I highlight them in red. So I know that at one time I did follow them. It didn't work out. They weren't receptive. But I like to keep them there so that I don't like, you know, because some profiles are private. So you're requesting to follow some of these people. And so I like to keep them there and see them so that they're not, you know what I mean? Anyway, I just like being able to remember people that I've tried interacting with so I'm not silly and go back and have an awkward situation. So that's what I do as far as that Instagram stories. Now, I also do this with direct message, which Instagram has come leaps and bounds with their messaging system. It's not perfect, but it's 10 times better than it was. And so what I do is, as I'm doing my little comments on their pictures, if there's something that like stood out to me, let's say the girl had a really cute pair of jeans on, that is a way for me to take that comment, and instead of commenting, I'll shoot her a direct message and I'll be like, hey, that picture you posted, those ripped jeans, like where were they from? So cute, I love them. She'll respond back. And then the bantering can begin, where you can kind of build this relationship via direct message. It gets a little bit more personal. After, like I said, after a couple weeks of kind of doing this with different people, when I have a call to action that I'm about to put out, say it's for a free group, the only things I invite to directly are free groups and glimpse groups. I never invite directly to a challenge group because, well, for me personally, I've had awkward experiences where people were offended that I invited them to a challenge group because they thought, they were like, you think I need to lose weight? Like, is that what you're saying? I'm like, no, it's just fun. Like, I love them. But anyway, I've had instances where it didn't go over well. So this is what I do now. I invite to free groups and I invite to glimpse groups. So I run at least two free groups a month, and I try to keep them non-fitness focused on the most part. We put some fitness stuff in there, like foodie stuff, but I have very much steered away from doing like ab and booty challenges or push-up challenges, plank challenges, those kinds of things. Because what I found is people that are part of my interest list aren't necessarily into fitness just yet. But the bigger of a relationship, the better a relationship I develop with them, they start to think about it. And they're like, maybe I'm interested in fitness. I don't know. So what I do is I try to do these free groups that pertain to my niche market. So I'll tell you the ones I did for February. We did a self-love group. And a lot of the people that I have interests with, we have kind of like DIY beauty stuff or natural beauty things. I love bath bombs, kind of like homemade face scrubs, that kind of stuff. And we set up the group where every day we would have something personal development centered, kept it very lighthearted, funny, not deep PD because some people aren't ready for that. And then we did a makeup tutorial in there, kind of showing people, because it's self-love, like makeup can make you feel pretty. And we had makeup tutorials, people loved that. And we did like beauty DIY tutorials. Like one girl went live in there, one of my coaches went live showing how to make a face scrub or your own bath bombs. And anyway, the group went great. People loved it. It was easy to advertise because who wouldn't want to join a fun group where you're learning how to make your own bath bombs, right? People that normally wouldn't say yes to a fitness free group say yes to these other kinds of groups. And then the other one we did, which did incorporate fitness, but in a non-Beachbody way, it was a family fitness group. And what we basically did in this group was put together recipes, that family-friendly ones that your kids would eat, and then we focused on activities outside or activities to do that incorporate your children, incorporate your husband, get people involved in kind of getting healthy, getting fit, but not that gym mentality or these, this, standard fitness type mentality. And then we had different coaches go live into the group doing samples of easier workouts that are fun, like Country Heat. People loved it. Like people that had never heard of Country Heat were like, I love this line dancing thing that you guys are doing. But the way we advertise it is sharing how this coach is doing Country Heat with her toddler sitting at her feet and how fun it is and how easy. So you get it? It's like we're sharing things that we as coaches promote, which is healthy living and this fit lifestyle that we can do in our homes, but without directly pushing it. It's like breadcrumbing in a free group. So it's kind of how we do it. And they go great. And I feel, and I'm sure a lot of you guys would feel the same way, I don't feel nervous inviting to one of these kinds of groups one-on-one via direct message because I'm not asking them to buy anything. I'm asking them to like hang out. And so during these free groups, I kind of check in with these girls every day, message back and forth. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Etc. Every month, I also run a glimpse group. And I post in that free group advertising the glimpse group. And I basically just say, this is just open to everybody that's interested in what we do as coaches. You saw us kind of be silly all week and post, about self-love and our workouts and etc. If you're interested in learning more about coaching, here's the link to the group. Tag the coach who added you. We'll get you added in. This past free group we did, we were able to add 125 people from that group into our Glimpse into Coaching. So the crossover rate is great. Like it was an awesome crossover rate. And really quickly, I'll share how the Glimpse group works because we just switched it up and it works. It was probably one of the best ones I've done. I picked 4 of my PS coaches that were different ranks, because I think it's important that potential coaches see where everyone is at in different stages of their business. Because sometimes I think my coaches look at me and they're like, you've been doing this for years, you're higher ranked, I don't know, are you relatable to me anymore? And I get that. As a new coach for me, I liked seeing those higher up coaches because I was like, I want to be you one day. But not everyone has that mentality. So I tried to cater to the mindsets of everyone. And so I had a coach, an emerald, a diamond, and a star diamond, and then myself. And what we did is we went live into the group. We spaced it out every 2 hours, and we went live and we shared how Beachbody came into our life, why we said yes, what were our hesitations, and how were those hesitations proved wrong, and how much has this changed our life. And every girl I picked, their stories were totally different, and they shared that perspective for themselves. In the group itself, kind of like the nitty-gritty details of coaching, I have an album, a photo album, and I created a graphic for each category in that album. So for example, kind of like the nitty-gritty stuff, like how to sign up, like how do we make money, and then explaining cycle bonuses, explaining commissions, explaining all those things. Those are in the album. So these potential coaches can read that nitty-gritty, the detail stuff that they want to hear about, but the stories are what the live videos are. And that is what ends up connecting somebody to your team, or connecting someone to you, is the story. They want to hear the details, but they really want to hear your story too. So anyway, that's kind of my process. That is usually what I do as far as crossover is concerned. The people I'm networking with on Instagram, I invite them to post a call to action, of course, but I never want you guys to think that's the end all be all. Coaches that I have seen over the years that have struggled, they have tried to run their business from the front view and of social media, and that's putting something out on Facebook or putting it out on Instagram. There are very few times where that is going to work. Unless you have this huge social media presence, you probably need to be doing work behind the scenes. And that's where these private messages come in, and these private invites behind the scenes. That's where the real connection builds. So I build the relationship, take a couple weeks connecting with that person, make sure they know your name, so that when that direct message comes into their inbox, they know who you are. Because then it's not weird, you know, especially if you've had some conversation prior about shoes, or I'm just giving examples of things I talk about. Your conversations might be totally different than mine. But then when I do send that invite, I can't think of anyone that has said no, because it's free. You're like-minded people, so your interests are the same. So their answer is almost always yes. For the people that don't have Facebook, that's the only obstacle I run into. We're pretty lucky now that we have the Challenge Tracker app. So if I have like a large response of coaches, from my coaches or from my own potentials that are like, I really want to do this, but I do not have Facebook and I'm not really interested in having Facebook, I will run 2 simultaneous groups at the same time and kind of just post the same thing in my Facebook group as the Challenge Tracker app, so that they can participate and be involved. If there isn't a huge response of people that don't have Facebook but they want to participate, I'll do it via email. I will send them a video link or the post or whatever it was for the day, and I'll send it via email. I try not to leave anybody out. I want to build as much as I can in this relationship, and I feel like if you're willing to take that extra mile with the person, they're so much more likely to trust you when they're ready to hop into this as a customer, as a coach, because they saw that you went that extra mile to help them out and you're not getting paid for it. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I do as far as the crossover is concerned, and have them in the free group. Like I said, I'll post about whatever upcoming paid group we have. Like the challenge group, I'm running one next week. I will be posting today, inviting them to join. And it's kind of just putting it out there, letting them see it, letting them digest it. I recommend for my coaches, and I do myself, where I reach out to all the people I added just to let them know I'm posting this. So I message them not to invite them, but just to say to them, hey, I'm posting about a challenge group I'm running next week. I don't want you to feel like I'm selling you anything. Wanted to give you a heads up that I was posting it so you didn't feel like I tricked you into coming into this group. I do it like that. And then almost always the person's like, well, tell me about the group. What does the group entail? You know, But I feel like if I come at it that way, number one, I'm being courteous that I invited them to a free group and now I'm posting about something that would require them to buy something. But also it gives me a way to talk about the challenge group coming up. So it's just kind of like a back end way of being able to invite without inviting. And that's what I do for both the Glimpse into Coaching groups and for the paid challenge groups. And then once you get them on Facebook, you might have people that stick in your free group ongoing. The way I run mine, I call it the Fit Couture community. And we run all our free groups in this group. I explain, I have like a pin post at the top explaining this is a Beachbody Run challenge. This is a Beachbody Run group. This group does switch up 2 to 3 times a month. This is how you exit the group if you do not want to stay here any longer. But basically giving them kind of like the rules of the group. We don't sell in the group. No one can sell in the group. There are other reps from other MLMs in the group. Just a sidebar, don't ever discount an It Works rep or other MLM reps because some of them are my best customers. Just because they'll never be a coach doesn't mean they won't buy the product. So I keep them in there, but the rules are, you know, if I find out you're poaching, if I find out you're trying to sell in here, you gotta go. But I think as long as you say the rules up front, it's usually fine. I've only had like 2 issues and we've had this group open for a couple years. So that's kind of what I do. It's ongoing. And then it's great because people that come in for, say, that self-love group, they're able to scroll back through the feed and see like the vegan crock pot group we ran 2 months ago. And they're kind of able to see more of what we're doing, get a feel for us a little bit better. Same thing with the Glimpse group. It's one group. I delete the post from the previous month and I'll bring in 4 new girls next month with different coaching stories, and it'll all happen in the same place. So maybe the people that popped in February that didn't sign up, they will hear from 4 new people in March. Maybe those stories will spark with them. But that's why I keep them all in the same group and just not to have a ton of other groups too, you know, because as coaches, we're in so many already. Try to keep it as condensed as possible. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's like basically how I do it.
Oh my gosh. This was amazing. This was so golden. Okay, so I was writing as fast as I possibly could, Jen. Seriously, I need to listen again. So I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly, and I'm sure everyone else does except me, but you, with your free groups, you keep them open ongoing. So it's not like it's an ongoing group. It's not like you're saying this is a 5-day DIY beauty group. This is an ongoing group that you keep open, correct?
Right, so the group itself will stay open. Like the DIY beauty one, we ran that for 7 days, and then we take like a week off, and then we'll start the next free group in that.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, so that is how I do my sneak peek groups. I keep the same group open, and then but I actually delete the previous content from my previous sneak peek. I delete all the content. I keep the people in there that did not end up joining, and then I run the sneak peek again. So are you doing something similarly, but you're not deleting all that previous content, or you are?
For the sneak peek, I'm going to delete it.
Okay.
But maybe, I don't know, that just may give food for thought. I don't know, because then the new people coming in, maybe they'll reference back to the other videos and maybe that girl would click with them. Need to think about that. But,
okay.
But for the free group, I keep it all in there because the new people coming in, I've had such good feedback from them saying, oh, I love that you ran that group, that other one last month. And I'm like, yeah, I can tag you on all those posts if you want to see them. So it works for that. The content.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. It's gonna take my brain a little bit to wrap all around this awesomeness. Seriously, this is golden. And you guys, Jen came up with this herself. I mean, right, Jen? I mean, it's not like someone said, Jen, this is what you need to do. No, she figured it out. She was like, this is one of my biggest pet peeves is that when, I shouldn't say pet peeves, but it gets frustrating when coaches come against what they see as a stumbling block. Like you said, you're like, my warm market just is not getting it. And rather than you just throwing your hands up in the air and saying, I give up, I guess I'm not going to be able to do this, you're like, well, wait a second. Let me figure out a way I can make this work. Exactly. And then you went to Instagram and you made it work. And I love that because as entrepreneurs, you guys, that's what we have to do. Every time we come up, what we see is maybe a roadblock because what we're doing, if we're trying to do something that our upline is doing or someone else is doing, and we're like, yeah, but that's not working for me, like at all, it's not working at all. Then instead of saying this business just doesn't work for me, or this business doesn't work, going, okay, how can I make this work, and what makes sense to me? And so Jen obviously was, reaching out to people saying, okay, it doesn't make sense to message them this or that because there's so many other network marketing companies doing that, and we want to be different. So she's using common sense to solve a problem. So I love that, first and foremost. So, and I love the 10 interest lists in the fact that you said it's not necessarily that I'm a surfer, but it's something I'm interested in. So that was so key to hear, because there's lots of things that I'm interested in, and I actually search on Instagram that I don't feel like I'm working on my business. I'm working on myself or something I'm interested in. And I never really thought about that as being like different areas to connect with people, which it's like, duh, of course. I just wouldn't have put that really together, and that's what we need to do. And then I love that you talked about the tracking, because that's how I've always, when I started up, I did all that tracking like that. I did it on Excel spreadsheet, but same thing, same type of columns. And I love that. Now you talked about an app, or I thought it was an app. Did you say there's an app that shows you who you followed but has not followed you back?
Yes. Mine's called Followers. That's just the name of it. I know there are different ones. This app, though, like when I pull it up on my phone, it's just called Followers. But the cool thing about this app, though, is it also has this add-on engagement pack you can buy for like $1.99, and it tells you who your worst followers are. And for me, this is great because we never want to be following more people than follow us, that ratio. And so you can go in and it'll tell you the people that never like your pictures or never comment. And then those are quick and easy people to unfollow. So I'll spend time doing that too, going through, and it's called like engagement pack or something. But anyway, yeah, just unfollow it.
Okay, that's awesome. And then I love that you talked about the DMs, because recently I've been using that a lot more myself. And I'm finding that's really helping. And so your glimpse group that you talked about, that's basically, some of us call it a sneak peek. It's kind of like a sneak peek, right? Okay. So are you running, and I've always tell coaches, look, you can do an hour one, you can do a 3-day one, you can do a 5-day one, there's no right or wrong. But I know coaches are going to ask me, what does Jen do?
It's one day,
okay.
and I've done them so many different ways. And let me say to everyone, like 2016 was, for me, my biggest year of failure, but it's the year that taught me the most about my business. And I think we need those failures. We need things to not work in order to figure out how to do it differently and how to make it work. So many kinds of sneak peek groups last year, and just wasn't having engagement. We did 5-day ones, 7-day ones, 24-hour live events, webinars, all of them. One day seems to work the best, but spacing out the information throughout the day and basically saying to them coming in, take time to watch it. I'll follow up with you tomorrow. So it's not them feeling like you have to be live throughout the day. But spacing them out 5 days felt like we lost people. They were interested on day 1. By day 5, they were gone.
Right.
So one day, spacing out the info within 2 hours, and then saying to them, watch it, see it, I'll check in with you tomorrow, leave it like that. That's kind of how.
That is awesome. I've been doing 3 days because same thing, the 5-day ones, I was losing people. So I've been doing 3 days, but typically they watch all the information on one day. So that probably is what I'm going to do. And I think I might see, I'm finding that with my market, a lot of them catch up on Saturday or Sunday. So are you doing yours typically a certain day of the week, or do you think it matters?
That's the thing we're experimenting with. So we tried doing it on a Wednesday because we felt like middle of the week, it's not all Monday, and then Friday mentally checking out.
Right.
We're going to try it on a Sunday next time and see maybe if Sunday they're home, they're at their house, they check in more likely. So we'll see. Think
right.
Time in, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking that if you're promoting it with enough advance notice to them, and you're constantly getting excited about, or maybe even promoting that you're going to do giveaways or prize during it or whatever, then people mentally, they just kind of have it on their calendar. Oh, I know I've got something going on Saturday. And they I don't know, I feel like they might set a little bit of time to just peek into that group at least.
I think so too.
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, I'm trying to think if there were any other questions I had.
Oh, when you mentioned the app I talked about Avatar for like a quick second, but then I didn't follow through with that. So it was Amy Porterfield had a podcast about like developing your avatar, and basically you're creating. Have you done one yet? It's basically
I haven't.
You create this like alter ego of you, but she's like, she or he is basically all of the things that maybe your ideal person would have been, all of your interests wrapped up in one. But it was she said to be very specific with it. Give her a name, give her an occupation, give her a family, give her interests, and have all this written down. And so now when I'm searching, and give her a name, mine's Berkeley, I named her Berkeley, but now when I'm searching through my Instagram, like the hashtags and stuff, quick question to myself, would Berkeley be friends with her, yes or no? Answer yes, follow. And if you're so intentional with who this person is that you're trying to attract, and it was game changing for me to take the time to create this person.
Yeah.
Because some of my coaches, and I'm sure you guys watching, I mean, the process of looking for people, I have coaches tell me, I spent 45 minutes and I only added 5 people. And I'm like, girl, you're taking way too long there. You should know within like 10 seconds if you want to follow this person or not.
Yes. Yeah.
So that just means we have to hone in a little bit more deeply on who we're trying to attract.
Yes, that is awesome. Sometimes I get lazy because like I'm not so much in the building mode as I was, my first year, my second year, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes when I get lazy, instead of like, tracking everything, I follow those people, like you said, via hashtags and stuff. I do that. And then I'll go in every now and then to my Instagram and just look at who I newly followed and then go CCQ on their latest.
Yeah.
Okay. And so one other question I did think of, I'm sorry guys. Okay, so I know you said when you first started, your warm market was just not that, what's the word, receptive.
Right.
But did you get to Emerald or get a handful of coaches from your warm market?
It's funny because I went diamond in 90 days. But guys, when I say this, I was making $20 a week. So rank means nothing if they're not coaches that are working. But it's funny, I was in a mom's group because I was postpartum when I joined, and they were from my mom's group. They all signed up to coach so we all could do Shakeology together.
Oh.
So I guess they were kind of my warm market, but it was an online mom's group. I didn't know these women, and now these girls have gone on to be my 5-6 star diamond leaders.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so I guess a little bit. I guess my warm market, when I say warm, are the people like I knew in real life.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Yes.
Those were the ones that were like, not. But 2 years into it, they signed up to coach. So kind of one of those things where I tell my coaches too, just because they're not interested now doesn't mean that they won't be. So we can't quit before we even give it a shot.
Well, that just gives me a whole new perspective, and maybe some others too. But like, I know like I got to diamond with my warm market. And so many of my coaches did too, but I do have a few coaches like you where they're like, my warm market's just not being receptive. Yes, it might have helped them get their first 2 coaches or 3 maybe, but from there on out, the warm market just was not receptive. And it kind of had to do with a little bit of the place where that coach was at that time. Even though they're forward thinking now and they're on their journey and all that stuff, the people around them hadn't really witnessed it yet enough for that person to have that credibility or whatever. And so they felt like their warm market was kind of, as we call them, Weight Watchers, waiting. Okay, is she going to fall off the wagon again? Is she really going to follow through with this again? Or, is she really?
I totally think that's what it was.
Yeah, is she serious about this? And so I think we have to realize that every coach, we're all starting in a different place. And even though our mindset to go might be the same and where we want to go is the same, we're starting in a different place. So we can't just throw our hands up in the air and say, well, that's not going to work for me. Instead, we have to problem solve and say, what do I need to do to reach more people, given my mindset and where I want to go? So
100%, like absolutely, yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, Jen, thank you so much for doing this call. It was amazing. We all knew it would be. We're all like, can't wait to hear Jen speak.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for the time that you prepared this content and for speaking for us and delivering as you always do. We so appreciate it. Well, I'm sure we're all going to listen to it again and again.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I feel honored that you had me. Thank you.
All right. Awesome, you guys. Well, thank you so much. And if you missed last week's call, Meg Wazinski, she talked about, finding your niche. I forget the exact title that we titled that call, but another amazing call. So again, on JanelleSummers.com, you log in with the username Team Hardcore, the password fitness. If you're newer to the business and you haven't really dug in yet, you feel behind, go to the tab that says training and then new coach start here. Set aside a Saturday, go through some of those trainings, and you're good to go. All right, cool, guys. Finish off the rest of the month strong, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.